The Haylou W1 and X1 are the latest and greatest the company has put out to date. At just under $40, the W1 boasts QCC3040 chip, a Knowles BA driver, while the X1 features ANC for only $4 more US. But which one should you get? Well, today we'll go through all the most important differences, and at the end, you'll know exactly which one suits you best. Spoiler alert, the X1 is not better than the W1. In fact, the only thing that's similar, it's just the outside look. So let's just get right into the comparison right now. Selamat pagi! Good morning everyone, Kenneth here and welcome to my comparison video of the Haylou W1 versus the X1. Now as always, full disclosure is down in the description below. But what you have to know is I always give you my own honest opinion, and also you can find the affiliate links there if you want to help me support the channel. Thank you so much, and let's get started with one of the most important aspects, the sound quality. Now to my surprise, the standards for sound quality of these two models differ wildly. On one hand, we all knew the Haylou W1 Pro expectations left and right. So much so, I even recommended this instead of the Feel T1 Lite or Pro in my 2021 roundup video. They take the balanced feel sound and expands the sound stage while also revealing more detail, all thanks to the excellent Knowles BA driver. This is a problem in a way because it set a tremendously high bar for the X1 to clear. And honestly, this can't match. The sound is not even worth comparing to the W1. It's like we are back to the Haylou GT5 days, or actually, it's worse. Let's talk about it by comparing a few songs from different genres so you'll know exactly how they're different. Starting with the J-Rock song from Yorushika, Flower and Badger Game, the X1 has the same volume level as the W1. I'd say they're enough for most, but man, the sound quality is so rough on the X1. The bass is like a wobbly woofer. It's very loose and uncontrolled. I don't know why sometimes the bass notes and guitar sounds like they're on a vibra, constantly changing 1/4 of a note up and down. Then the female vocal is at the edge of distortion. It sounds thin and artificial. The whole thing is just a night and day experience compared to the W1, where vocals are very nicely separated and defined. It's well-rounded. Every instruments are very detailed, and I just don't know where to start to comment here. But just for the sake of it, I also tried listening to Enter Sandman by Metallica, and I can't help but make a grimace throughout the entire song because the treble on the X1 is very harsh and piercing. All the way through, the hi-hat and cymbals are uncomfortable to listen to, even only at 70 to 80% volume, and the W1 does not have any of these issues. The cymbals are accurate, the guitar and bass chucks are impactful, and the vocals are nicely placed in the center and the front of it, separated from all the other instruments. The only thing I found the X1 to be okay is at dance music like Stay by Zed or even pop to some extent. The strong bass sounds acceptable here, and the vocals are not super thin and fake anymore. There's no piercing hi-hats either, just a little sharp snare hit that's still tolerable. Basically, if I could still enjoy the beat, that's the most important thing, right? Well, compare that to the W1 that presents just as much bass with better control and definition over everything. I just don't know why wouldn't you get this one instead of the X1. Anyway, if you found the video useful so far, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and let's move on to the next aspect of the comparison, the build quality. This is going to be a quick one because they are exactly the same. From the standard Haylou box, the charging cable, ear tips and manuals, to the design of the case, which got 3 LED in front that you probably can't see because these are a little too dim, but there's USB-C at the back, and just for the X1 you do get wireless charging capability. I must say I am loving the dark blue and white color option on the W1, though the X1 is only available in black color. The material here is your typical matte plastics, but looking at the W1, which I've had for a couple months now, these are very prone to mild scratches. It's it's all over the place. As for the earbuds, these IPX5 little thing are very cool in my view. Maybe I just like the angular look more than the usual pill-shaped ones. But anyway, the stem part has quite a shiny coating, which gets quite slippery at times. So when you take it off the case or just handling them in general, be careful, because I found them to slip off my hands more than, what I normally do. Despite looking exactly the same though, there's actually one subtle change you won't know until you try it out. And that's the fit. Here I'm specifically talking about the ear tips. For some reason, Haylou decided to make them a tiny bit shorter on the X1, and that ruins the otherwise perfect fit for me. It's not fitting deep enough until I use the W1 ear tips or fiddle with it enough to find the perfect angle, or you can change it with any third-party ear tips of your choice. With that said, the rounded inner shape only opens up when I raise my eyebrows, and with the extra security provided by the stem, I could wear these for hours and they will stay comfortably. Now, as far as pairing and connectivity goes, it is interesting that when you open the lid, a pop-up will appear on my Poco X3 Pro. I think this is the Mi AI thing they put on a box, so Xiaomi or Redmi only, not Google Fast Pair. And also special to the Haylou W1, they use Qualcomm QCC3040 here, which means they support aptX adaptive codec. On the X1, this chip is not disclosed, but it supports, like you guessed, SBC or AAC only. Both work as they should though. They support dual mode Bluetooth, so you can only use one earbuds or use both earbuds and switch between them seamlessly. That's just a no problem these days. Now, talking about the controls, as you can see here, these are classic Haylou controls. You get playback control, voice assistant, game mode, and on the X1, hold to toggle ANC and transparency. For both, there's no volume control and there's no app for customization, which actually I just noticed their Haylou app for earbuds is gone from the App Store now. I found a touch sensor which is located just below the LEDs to not be very responsive. And by the way, the LEDs turn off after it's paired, so don't worry about that. So sometimes I would tap 2 or 3 times, but only one tap register. And I learned that you need to tap with your whole finger to reliably register the taps. But specific to the X1, I feel like there were more accidental touches for some reason. Okay, we're almost done here. Now let's go through the battery test results, because Haylou, curiously, doesn't clearly state how much playtime you can expect from each earbuds. Fear not though, because the W1 Duo lasts up to 7 hours on AC, 50% volume, which is loud enough for indoors, and aptX Adaptive uses more battery, shaving 1 hour of that, resulting in just shy of 6 hours, but that's still hardly a complaint. The QCC3040 chip is doing a great job here. On the X1 side, with AAC codec, ANC turned on, and 50% volume, we got a decent 5 hours of playtime. And when you want to save battery, you can just turn ANC off. Just keep in mind that using transparency mode uses the same amount of battery as do ANC. Talking about the case battery, the W1 actually has smaller 300 mAh cell, while the X1 is equipped with 600. These do feel slightly heavier. Despite that though, they both feel the same when you're using it, which gives about 3 more charges, and they could last you up to the weekends. Most likely this is because the W1 is just way more efficient, but theoretically you could go for longer if you don't use ANC at all on the Haylou X1. But come on, why won't you if you already buy it, right? So finally, let's talk about the features specific to the X1, and we'll start with the ANC. First things first, there's no EQ change between the modes, and the sound effect will play on top of your music, so there won't be any interruptions. But about the ANC itself, I must say it's quite weak. Even the Redmi Buds 3 Pro is better. It has a very small amount of white noise, though it easily disappears when you start playing music or just simply being outside where, your surrounding is louder. Unfortunately, the X1 don't remember your last use setting. Always turns on with ANC on, then ANC off, and then transparency. So it's quite a hassle if you want to switch to transparency. But speaking of that, this one, the transparency mode is in a better shape compared to the previous ANC enabled Haylou, the T16. It lets in outside noise quite naturally. It uses the upwards facing mic right here, so you won't accidentally hit it while, handling the earbuds. And when you do swipe over it, it doesn't make a loud screeching sound, so that's great. One more note here, though it lets you hear what's around you, the transparency mode doesn't let your own voice in when you talk, so it's still got a long way to go actually. Now, if you're wondering if you can use one earbud only and still use transparency mode, That's unfortunately not possible here, but you can still switch between ANC modes during the phone call. So for example, if you're on ANC and you want to have a better call experience, you want to switch to transparency, you can do that while doing the phone call. Like some other earbuds just don't do it. Last but not least, this thing doesn't have wind noise reduction as well. Okay, before we go and check out the latency and mic tests, the W1 does not have gaming mode, while the X1 does. Haylou promotes aptX Adaptive as being low latency, but if you've been following the latency tests I've done over the past years, I didn't find that to be true. One thing I have in mind is because testing aptX Adaptive latency is very phone dependent. My Poco X3 Pro has a relatively high latency when paired to any Bluetooth buds, so for this test, I'm going to stick with the iPhone on AAC just to show you how the game mode works and how it differs to the QCC3040 here. Let's check it out. All right, welcome to the microphone test, everyone. Right now, you're listening to the Haylou W1, and what do you think of the sound quality? So this is an indoor setting where nothing is going on. This is the best case scenario that you should expect when you're doing online meetings and stuff like that inside your home. And I'm going to test out this a little bit. So let's play this simulated crowd noise. And what do you think of the sound quality? Can you still hear me clearly? This is playing at like 50% volume, so it's not super loud, but just testing it out there. And we're going to compare this to the Haylou X1 right now. All right, so now we are on the Haylou X1 and I'm using transparency mode, so it feels much lighter to talk with the earbuds on. And I forgot to mention in the video, but this has like AI noise cancellation thingy. We're going to test it out with this indoor test and we're going to go outdoors and we'll see how it performs outside as well. So let's go with the simulated crowd noise here. I'm playing again at half volume. Can you still hear me clearly? How does it compare to the Haylou W1? And what do you think of the sound quality? Let me know down in the comments below. And let's get outside right now and we'll see how it performs with real street noise. Let's go. All right, so here we are outside with the Haylou W1. And what do you think of the sound quality right now? There's a very strong wind blowing from the side. So we're going to do a little wind test by facing that way for like a couple seconds, and then you'll see if you can hear me clearly through this. But there's some strong wind, if I might say. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the outdoor test. Let's compare this to the X1 and we'll see how it compares. Alright, so here we are right now on the Haylou X1. Same cars and motorcycles zooming past beside me and the same wind blowing through the side. So we're going to do the wind test one more time. 3, 2, 1, can you still hear me through this wind? And yeah, what do you think of the sound quality? Let me know which one is better and we'll get back upstairs and finish the video. So in conclusion, despite sharing the same design, even priced very similarly, the Haylou W1 and X1 are two fundamentally different earbuds. And your priority will determine which one to get. For me personally, I would go without question for the W1. I made it my top pick under $40 for one reason. It sounds really good. Then because it uses QCC3040, it has great connectivity, great battery life as well. But on the other hand, as enticing as the X1 may be, it really falls in the price to performance ratio, and definitely not the flagship earbuds Haylou made it out to be. All things considered, there are just so many awesome ANC earbuds under $50 out there that can do much more or sounds better or cheaper than the X1, and the competition is real crazy nowadays. Let me know if you want to see a video talking about that. Don't forget to use the links to help me support the channel, and leave a comment if you have more questions. I'm also available on Instagram and Twitter. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I'm Kenneth and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.